Hello and welcome to another update video about Bitcoin. We take a look at the 1 hour chart and we can see that Bitcoin indeed made that one more low that we wanted to see yesterday into the region between 27 and 27.2k. If Bitcoin moves up now, then it's following perfectly the yellow wave count as it's outlined here. Resistance is between 27,630 and 28,020, which means against that level, to keep it simple, I focus on lower prices. Do we get this wave 2 pullback or not? That will really happen or be decided on in the next, I would say, few hours, to be honest, because it should really do that. If it's a wave 2, it should move up from here. Otherwise, it gets too long. Okay, this wave 1 gets too long. Already a bit concerned about that. What I would have liked to see is maybe a move down. Yes, that's what we wanted to see, but not necessarily maxing out and going below 27k, which is what it did briefly, and then not recovering at all. So again, while that is sort of in line with the expectations, it's not perfectly following the laid out structure. That always tells us that something different might be looming in the background. Yeah, something different might be unfolding. So what do I mean with that? Yeah, first of all, what I want to emphasize is that this wave 1 is now getting a little too long. So yes, we were waiting for another low, but it shouldn't ideally have broken below 27k. That's the problem. So if I look at the Fibonacci extensions, yeah, and the subwave structures, then you can see that if I take the length of the higher degree wave 1, compare that with the length of the lower degree wave 1, it has exceeded the 78.6 Fibonacci extension. That's not what I want to see in a wave 1, in a smaller degree wave 1. Yeah, it's not invalid, but it's, you know, the fine details that we're watching for that will give us an advantage over other analysts, for example, who use Elliott Wave, who don't use the Fibonacci levels that thoroughly. So the problem is that if a 5-wave move to the downside gets longer than the 78.6 extension, it might be something different. So what does that tell us? That tells me, first of all, that I don't need to change the wave count until I see further evidence by price, okay? But it still is something to be aware of and to be prepared for. It could, for example, be that this is already the third wave to the downside, which would be my second preference, okay? That we're already somehow in wave 3, that maybe we completed wave 1 here only in 3 waves. Could be a diagonal then that's unfolding. Yeah, all of this, the whole thing, would need to look at it. Will depend on what happens today. But that wouldn't change really the scenario. It would just not show us a clear wave 2 pullback. We would probably just go down more directly. Would have to break below 26,600 and then also get to 26k. Get to 26k, this would be the ideal next target here for wave 3 as it is right now. And so that is what I would prefer if we don't see this wave 2 pullback, okay? That we're already in the third wave, because it would just increase the pace of that sell-off a little bit more. So that's what I would prefer. Now, the other scenario is, and that's always a problem, and therefore I would pay attention to the 1-to-1 ratio, the 100% extension level, which is at 26,860, the 1-to-1 ratio. Usually, when we see 5 waves beyond the 61.8 or 78.6 extension, the price will test the 1-to-1 ratio, 26,860. And that would, you know, confirm an ABC structure. So that would rather emphasize the wide wave count again. So I'm just concerned about that. Even though we pulled down or pulled back quite deep, you would think the wide wave count has become less likely. Yes, you might think that. The problem is that from a structural point of view, it looks then more like an ABC structure, okay? Where the C wave has the same length as the A wave. So these are just the nuances in the chart that I'm watching for. What I can tell you is that the idea that we are already in the third wave has gained in probability, in my opinion. I will not rule out the idea that we are now entering a wave 2 pullback in the yellow count and will then move down in wave 3. But the yellow count remains the preference. And to keep it simple, it's not possible to know if we get a wave 2 rally based on the problem with the length of wave 1. I hope that's clear. So we still need to have the wide wave count on the chart, but the situation hasn't changed. I need to see a break above resistance to really believe the wide wave count. That would be now, with the latest resistance, a break above 28,020. So a break above 28,020 would make the white wave count much more likely. It would be a rally to 30K. Until then, I focus on the yellow count, and it doesn't really matter if we are at the moment still in wave 1 or if we're already in wave 3, because in both we are focusing on lower. I would rather approach it from an angle of, okay, if we get that corrective rally, it maybe is another short trade setup, okay? Yeah, there's not much more to add. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.